Hi everyone, George Burnett with Covers Camo, your source for custom seat covers. Well, today we're going to show you how to do a seat repair, some foam. This is an early 2000 Chevy, about a 2002. And these trucks are great working trucks. It's had a lot of use and the seats have been beat up inside. In other words, they've just been used hard. So here's what we have. This is really common. You're going to see this, and a lot of you that are out there have this situation in that this foam is, look, it's all the way down to the metal. The metal is showing and it's really just busted out here. As you slide and roll off of this thing, this is what wears out, this section. Again, so this foam is busted loose here and it's tearing up in here. But you know, I mean, this is a truck you're probably not going to go get new upholstery on it, obviously. And so you want to fix this thing up. We're going to show you how to do this inexpensively, yet effectively. And also, this is all, the springs are all kind of just worn out and just, you know, the owner here has said a moment ago, he says, you know, I complain every time I get in this truck. I sink down, you know, I can hardly see over the steering wheel here because you're just sinking so far. So we're going to fix this. We're going to show you how to do this. And yeah, it doesn't, you know, it looks a little like hay, you know, like a little, what do you want to call it anyway? But it's going to work, okay? And that's what's important. We're going to show you how to do this, okay? So we're going to take some foam. Now, this is not, you know, we actually looked around and said, what kind of foam do we have? What kind of foam does he have here at the site? And he gathered some foam together for us. So you don't have to have specialty foam. I'm going to show you, we're going to piece together foam. Okay, so we're going to piece it together and fix this, like I said, inexpensively. So let's get started with it there. You're going to need some shears, okay? So let's see, I have my shears right. You're going to need shears. This is a fast tack upholstery adhesive. It's going to be pretty helpful as well to kind of hold this all together. And we're not going to be worried about spraying glue on this seat because we're going to be covering it with seat covers and it's going to finish out really nicely. So we don't have to worry about that. And again, you don't have to worry about having this thing perfect. You're going to trim out any foam that you need to with scissors here. If there's really old rotted stuff that just needs to be gone, this is okay. It's just a big hole here. So I'm really not going to trim out this, but if I wanted to, needed to, and you've got some edges, you want to kind of cut this out. It's kind of like a dentist got to drill out the old rotted tooth and fix it up with some new stuff there. So we're not going to do any trim out there, but you could do that if your seat needs it. All right, so now what I did is I just started fitting things, the foam pieces in here. Now it's caving down so far here. I mean, we need to build this up to where it's bringing up almost about 3 inches to where this is just not collapsing. And rather than try and fix springs underneath, we're just going to do it with some foam. So we asked for, you know, some foam here when we were here, and he delivered me some foam that he had. And here's the first piece I trimmed. I just cut this section right here, about 1 inch of a relatively high density foam. All right, so we want some pretty good density foam here so that this is just not going to keep collapsing. So that's the first one, just trying to rounded up the edges there. All right, there's that. Then I also put took a piece of foam and I said, this is a kind of a high density. This one had, you know, it had some laminate vinyl, it looks like, in there. This is going to work just fine. I'm going to lay that, and I cut that. I basically cut it to fit inside these original bolsters right there, okay? Now, I didn't have a nice big piece, so I had to piece it together. So we're going to take, and I trimmed these pieces here, and then I want, for the front edge, I don't want it quite as stiff, so I took some lighter, and so that it's going to smooth out real nicely here. It's not quite as high density, and I cut those pieces there. Again, this is just some scrap stuff, you know. It wasn't going down and having to buy the exact foam you needed, so I just pieced this all together, trimmed it up, and trimmed this little bevel off right here so that it's going to kind of smooth out right there, and that's going to be as much as we're going to need right there. So we've got a nice good body that's going to lift it up here. Now the side right here, there's a hole here, and there's actually metal showing right there. Well, we want to protect that. You know, you don't want to be sitting on metal. So we want to take, and I just took another piece of one of this foam right here, and I just trimmed it right there. There it is right there, and I fit that. So that's going to go in and protect that metal right there, all right? Now the last area is right here in this bolster that's really just collapsed and gone with this hole. So let's take, and I really need 3 pieces of foam here, and I want this one here. It's got some little bit of a covering on, a little bit of a almost vinyl right there, because I don't want this metal showing, and you got to cover that up. You can use some scrap stuff in here. I cut this one to go inside just like that. Okay, so we're going to take that one and get that down in there. All right, So I got that one. Now this is still not built up enough, right? We got some protection there. This side's all been collapsed. I want to take and I'm going to put another piece of foam in here, okay, and start building this bolster up. Again, this is just some scrap stuff that's you can just find. You could actually go to an upholstery shop and say, hey, listen, how much would it be for a bag of just scrap foam? That's one place you could go and get, is just an upholstery shop and ask for some high density or just some scrap foam to do this kind of fix. And then I'm going to take, and for final, I'm going to take, this is just some kind of a 1/2 inch almost, and I'm going to tuck that in there, and just to kind of finish this out, we're going to tuck it right inside like this and tuck it underneath this original upholstery right there and kind of smooth this out, and we'll have this bolster kind of rebuilt, if you will. Okay, now the other choice is to go, is to go and get the whole new block of foam, but that's pretty expensive, and this is, like I said, this is going to fix you back up, fix this work truck back up. All right, perfect. All right, so we got that set right there. Now we could take and spray glue this if you wanted to, and you want to take the spray glue, but it's also going to hold together just fine to go this stage right here, put the cover on it, put the seat cover on it, snug it all down, and this is not going to go anywhere underneath here, okay? So we really don't have to take and spray glue it. If I wanted to spray glue this, I'd lift this up. Let me show you that. We'd lift this all up, okay? And we would spray glue this upholstery. We're not worried about it. This is all torn up anyway, so don't worry about spray getting glue on the upholstery. We would spray glue it right here. And you would, all right? Let that kind of get dry, a little bit tacky, all right? You could also hit this side with that spray glue. All right, and let that dry just a little bit before we actually set this down. So let's just let that dry for just a second there. Now we'll take and set this on down. Okay, there's the first piece. Now we could take and go to the next one. Spray glue this one, spray glue here. Again, we're not too worried. This is an old work truck. If it's, if you had some overspray, it's not going to be too much of an issue, right? We're going to take and set that one down onto like that. Okay. And let's see, our next piece is going to go, our next piece is right here. Again, just kind of hitting that like that. You might have this right here. Right here. Those in there just like that. I'm going to fix this guy back up. Tell you what, we're going to hit the bottoms of these right here. Okay, this will just kind of hold this all together. And we're just right like that. Excellent. Beautiful. Okay, now I went over the top of this. After we get this all in here, let's see. I'm going to open this up just a little bit and hit a little bit of glue. Actually, there's one piece right here to cover that one. Okay, hit this right here. You could let that dry just a little bit longer. That's going to hold just fine right there. That's going to protect that metal right there. Boy, this guy's gonna love this. Tell you what, we're going to go like that, and that's about as much we need to do on this bolster to hold that together. Just a little bit of glue to hold this final piece in there. You could spray glue that some more if you wanted to, but that's going to be just fine. Boy, that bolster's now, that thing's gotten so collapsed down, it's going to hold him in there much better. Now to finish this off, this is this is called scrim, kind of like a light cloth right there, and I fitted this one here. This is going to just kind of smooth this all out. Again, a upholstery shop would say, hey, listen, could you sell me a little bit of 1/2 inch scrim like that? And that one's just going to smooth this whole thing out. Okay, so now I just kind of trim some of the corners on it like that. And so we could take, just to hold that all together, let's just take this right here. Okay. Spray glue the bottom side of here. Give it a little bit of glue, let it dry for just a minute. Just a little bit right there, set that back down. All right, we'll set that back down right like that. Excellent. All right, beautiful. Okay, That's gonna smooth that all out real good. Now, yeah. Can't wait for him to jump up in there and sit on that, and that's lifted him back up. That seat that was collapsed down, and we're really ready now to be able to put that seat cover bottom on there. Okay, now if the backrest is kind of collapsed in here, I mean, there's been a lot of use in this seat, and you get these things, the springs and the foam kind of wears out, and you know, you need a bolster to, you know, for your support for your back. I just took a piece of scrap foam here, and I'm going to take it right like that. I just trimmed it just kind of smooth this edge out. Before we put the seat cover on it, that's going to give him a nice little back bolster. If you want that to make sure it stays in place, you're going to take and spray glue. Just make sure you try and keep your overspray from not getting out on the rest of anything else. Again, this is the upholstery here. You can either spray one side, but I like to just hit a little bit of that right there. Again, this seat is so beat up, we're not worried about spray gluing the upholstery, because it's, and then we're going to stick this right here, and that's going to give him a bolster that's going to really support his back there and make it feel so much better. So then the seat cover can go over the top of that, snug down, and we're just going to be fine. You can trim this edge a little bit right here if you need it. If you want to, you know, trim that edge just to kind of smooth that out. I kind of took some of it off right there. You could just trim this back just to kind of smooth that edge out a little bit. Okay. So you can trim this over here a little bit right here. All right, perfect. And there you go. You got a nice bolster for his back right there. It's just make it so much more comfortable. So there you go. That's pretty much it right there. Real simple to do. Again, upholstery shop for some of your scrap foam from them. Just talk them out of that, and then just cut and piece it together, put it in there, and you've got your seat ready to go for one of the seat covers that we can provide you with. So George Burnett, Covers and Camo, your source for custom seat covers. Thanks for watching, and fix your seat back up. There you go.